Uh, Hello, guys, and welcome to the 13th episode of Office Hours. We've been doing this now for 13 days continuously. I cannot imagine this. Right. More importantly, we have been in lockdown for 21 days officially today. Hello, Vishal. Welcome.
Hi Vivek, thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, for all our listeners and attendees, I'll quickly introduce Vishal, and then we'll jump straight in the conversation. Right. Vishal Rupani. I have known Vishal for now. I think what about 6, 7 years now, isn't it?
Oh, pretty much, pretty
Applied
much.
Mobile Labs ways, yes, which is yes.
Right.
So around about 6, 7 years, right? And I think that was
So
just about the time when you had kicked off M Canvas. Is that right?
that's right. We started in about early 2005. So I think
Uh-huh.
we'd met before that, and then
Right.
kind of came a little later.
Right. Awesome. All right. So a quick introduction about Vishal, and this is my version. I'll let Vishal sort of add more flavor to this. But Vishal has over 13 years of experience in everything called marketing, in everything called digital marketing, which is search, display, mobile, programmatic, and everything else. Uh, More importantly, he started M Canvas, which is a subsidiary of Affinity, and currently has a CEO hat there, right? Uh, Vishal has been awarded across multiple forums. I see him, bagging an award every once in a while on LinkedIn, right? Which is really cool. And more importantly, Vishal has real solid uh, experience in mobile advertising, something which you want to talk about today. Vishal, did I do a good job of introducing you?
Absolutely, that was a very kind and a generous introduction. Thank you for that, Vivek.
Awesome. So Vishal, what we'll do is we'll just sort of chat about mobile advertising, right?
Hmm.
And how things have not changed and get changed somewhat,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
You have obviously seen the decade before and the last decade, right? You've seen when people used to go crazy about a display ad, a display banner on a Rediff website.
Right.
You've seen people going, crazy for getting a programmatic impression on a mobile device.
Hmm.
You've seen people moving from a BlackBerry to an iPhone to an Android Pixel, right? Uh, what unfortunately has not uh, gone. So one space which has not really changed incredibly, right,
Hmm.
is the one where a couple of pixels on a page are taken away from the website owner, and
Hmm.
somebody else decides to show some fans some fancy ad, and then expects more importantly the user to trade their attention by clicking on it, right?
Right.
That is what a display ad was when it was first launched in 1994, right? Fast forward, and 3 decades later, that is still pretty much what display advertising means to a lot of people, right? We'll just throw a banner ad on the website, and probably some people will click, and guess what? We might actually expect them to convert as well, right? And surprisingly or surprisingly, it has also been one format of advertising which has gone through least innovation,
Hmm.
right? Uh, Open to discussion. What do you think?
I think Vivek, you put it very, very accurately. But I think we have to admit, right, advertising is the lifeline and the blood for the publishing industry. So it's hard for so many publishers, content producers survive if there was no advertising. So it's not easy to get away from it. But I think I have seen it evolved quite a bit. You rightly mentioned, right? From the banner advertising to an extent still continues to live, which is a simple block of area. You show something and hope people will come and click on it. But the way I think I have seen it evolve, and I'm going to be proud and say this that I've been a participant in bringing about some of this change in the space, which is instead of it just being a simple static banner where you hope and prayed and crossed your fingers that, hey, I will be able to grab attention, I'll get someone to click on it, and then hopefully I'll get a conversion. I think it's changed somewhat, which is people are making it much richer now. Now, when I say rich, I just don't mean a fancy animation or just adding video. I think what advertisers have started doing is they are trying to make ads for mobile now. While ads have existed on mobile for a long time, from a BlackBerry to the latest iPhone 11,
Yeah.
but the ads have evolved, and what many advertisers and of course the technology vendors, what they're doing is they're integrating phone features and sensors inside the ad to make it more interactive. Right now, what are these phone features and sensors? So now imagine, uh, let's say McDonald's were to advertise. Now, what they would typically do with a standard banner ad is showcase, let's say, one of their milkshakes, which is, let's say, a choco shake. They will highlight what are.
Vishal, okay, let's just agree on this, right? We will not talk about food advertising. Right? People have not stepped out of the houses for 3 weeks now. You will make people hungry right now, right? Let's just not be so brutal there. Let's just take example of Adidas or Reebok, right? Let's just sort of
Okay.
play much more safe there. Yeah.
Okay, let's go with that. Let's hope and pray people are exercising at home. Everyone has a nice sneaker to exercise with. We will take an example of Reebok, and I'll share a sample of what Reebok's done to be innovative in the dull display space, which is what otherwise typically happens.
Right.
Now, let's say what Reebok could do is when they launch a new shoe, typically they would create maybe a video or a carousel and showcase features and benefits of the shoe in the form of a display ad, right?
Correct.
And that's traditionally what Reebok and most other brands would do. Now, what they often, what I would say is, what they do not pay heed to is when they try to run an ad for a mobile phone, they do not create an ad for mobile, which is they often repurpose a print ad, an ad that they may have created for desktop, or an ad they may even
That
created
hurts.
for TV, take a snippet out of it and stick it onto the banner ad. That's typical of what Reebok and many other brands do.
But hey, that saves cost, right?
Oh, absolutely. It saves cost, but what do you end up with? Is it really effective? Is it really engaging and interesting for the user? Right? They've seen it on your TV, they've seen it on maybe newspaper, outdoor. But if you're going to replicate that, are you only trying for reach? What about the Gen Z audience, which is often hooked on mobile and
Yeah.
they use mobile as the primary source of media? What
Right.
about engaging them a little deeply? Now, let's take
Right.
Reebok and 10 of their competitors. If all of them end up slapping their existing creative from whatever other media they were using, just repurpose it and bringing that to mobile, is that really fun and engaging for the user, right? My answer to that is no.
Correct.
So now what Reebok has started doing is, now going back to the earlier point I was mentioning, which is Reebok now starts integrating phone features and sensors inside an ad. Now, how do they make a sensor rich ad? Now, imagine you come across an ad on mobile and hopefully it's engaging enough. It's in a new age format and you choose to tap on it. Now, imagine it popping into a full screen ad. Of course, it was user initiated in this scenario. When you see a full screen ad, what if now Reebok, instead of telling you the benefits of the shoe, tells the user, hey, we've got something cool new that we've launched. Why don't you walk 10 steps to see what we've launched, right? Again, now imagine the user uh, starts taking a few steps forward, right? Actually physically walks, right?
Right.
And then the user takes a few steps, a part of the shoe that Reebok has launched gets revealed. Now imagine when a user is done completing 10 steps, the entire shoe gets revealed and the user gets to know about its features, benefits. It could be followed with a video or the other standard things the brand was anyways doing.
Right.
But now what Reebok smartly did is they activated the phone's accelerometer and the gyroscope and detected users' motion and got them to walk. Right? Now, how
Super.
powerful is that versus seeing a static ad? So one of the beliefs that we come with is to get advertising right, you want to involve the user and get the user to do something and create a memory. And
Right.
we kind of relate this back to how you and I learned things in school, which is we didn't learn in school just by reciting things, right? We actually practiced things. We wrote them down. Why did we really have practicals in our science classes? Doing things made us remember better, do things better. We try to apply same principles when it comes to digital advertising on mobile, which is why can't we, or why can't Reebok or any other brand get users to actually physically do something to engage better? Now
Right.
compare this ad with something that a competitor would have done. If you've engaged with both ads, one a simple static ad or video versus something that Reebok made that actually made you walk, would you going to
Right.
remember 15 days from now, a month from now, when it's time to make a purchase decision? Is Reebok going to play a larger influence or a competitor's brand who you've probably seen, maybe accidentally tapped on it and moved on? Right? So that's
Right.
the power of using a sensor or a feature in a phone, and that's how some brands have evolved to making ads meant for mobile. What these brands do is they try to keep users' behaviors in mind when creating a creative, which is they're making something meant specifically for mobile. Obviously, this creative is not going to work on any other media because the
Correct.
other media channels don't support these sensors.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Vishal, is this also something which you guys do by any chance?
Sorry, I lost you.
Is this also something which you guys do on a daily basis for a living?
That's pretty much our bread and butter at M Canvas. Thank you for asking me that. Which is our expertise that we've built is
Uh-huh.
integrating 50 plus features and sensors inside an ad creative, which is it could be the microphone, it could be the camera, it could be other motion sensors, it could be the phone's calendar. Now, what we're able to do is when we integrate these phone features and sensors, we're able to get people to engage in augmented reality experiences, VR
Right.
experiences, or we're able to get people to talk to an ad, right?
Right.
We're able to get people to move, like in the Reebok example. I'll share another one. Reebok actually happens to be a close client for us. I'll
Right.
share another
Uh-huh.
example, which is one of my favorites and an award-winning case for us. Sometime back, Reebok launched a new line of Pure Move sports bra. Right?
Mm-hmm.
When they came to us, they said, "Hey, we don't want to do run-of-the-mill advertising. We want to do something unique and contextual."
Right.
So what our creative team did is uh, they created an ad where, obviously targeted to women. The creative, when you open the ad, tells women, "Hey, why don't you jump 5 times?" Right? And again, we activate the phone's motion sensors and we detect those jumps. So when the person completes 5 jumps, an interesting message follows which says, "Hey, 40 years since the first sports bra was invented, wasn't that experience what you just did an uncomfortable one? Hence, consider Reebok Pure Move for these benefits," followed by a video which showcases all the product highlights and features. Right?
Right.
Again, it's very contextual. It involves the users. Again,
Yeah.
builds a memory for them.
True. True. Interesting. Right. So, Vishal, again, a lot of this is a lot of this advertising or campaign designing, right,
Mm-hmm,
seems to be brand recall
mm-hmm.
heavy, right? Uh, would it be fair if I call you a brand solutioning expert at some level?
Absolutely, that would be accurate. As MCanvas, our expertise is on the branding front.
Right.
Again, much like what you would expect from a TV,
Mm-hmm.
we try to make that experience engaging. And
Right.
what we have to deliver from a client's perspective is time spent actively engaging with the ad. Right?
Correct.
We're trying to create
Correct.
a unique experience. What we are not doing is casting out a wide net, hoping that out of a million people I reach, 100 will convert, and then we start scaling on that part. We're trying to
Got it.
create a brand on mobile for our advertising partners.
Interesting. So, Vishal, now help me understand this. I remember Affinity
Mm-hmm.
is a performance first. Uh, uh, yeah, Affinity was so much more focused on performance first marketing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Canvas is so much focused on
Mm-hmm.
brand marketing, right? And we know these two kind of marketers don't like each other inherently,
Mm-hmm.
right? The brand guy, the performing guys are always judging the brand guys. What's the performance, right? Where is the ROI?
Right.
How many sales did you drive last month, right? And the brand guys are like, what's really your influence? You can't just keep on throwing money on Google and Facebook, right? How was this transition for you personally, right?
I think that's
From
a
hardcore
great.
performance to hardcore brand marketing. Yeah.
I think that's a great question. In fact, when we started off in 2015, when we officially and formally launched, most agencies we went to, and of course, our bread and butter is agencies today. But most agencies that we went to, they said, "Hey, you guys are not going to last beyond 1 year of being in business. You guys are focusing too much on brands, on branding, and people are not looking for branding on mobile. I mean, digital is all about performance because it can be measured.
Right.
You guys should focus on performing." Of course, we had the benefit of having the legacy of Affinity and all the other things we do today at Affinity as well, which focus on performance and other things.
Correct.
But I think we took that as a challenge. And I think what we realized is the market had a gap. The market was used to repurposing stuff. And pardon me for repeating that, but it's pretty apt for this
No, it
conversation.
is. It is. Yeah.
Right? The market was just glued to, hey, let me take the easy route. Mobile, I need some visibility. I'm going to drive some clicks, and that's about it. They never looked at exploiting mobile for what it could be. They didn't really think of taking advantage of all features of that. So, anyways, coming back, uh, that's what we heard in our first year of business. But what we did is we set out and made so many different use cases which many people had not thought about. Okay? So we made a lot of industry first innovations on mobile. Of course, it was hard to sell that in the first year of business, but the constant innovation and we identified what brands would really appreciate that. And I'm happy to say from then and now, it's been 5 years. I can probably tell you that we've worked with over 350 brands. Most of them have looked for branding. Of course, there is an underlying requirement for performance, but not everyone measures things in performance. You'll be surprised how many advertisers, if you take the right product, if you build the right metrics around it, the right analytics, and if you're able to prove to them that, hey, what TV could do for you can be achieved on mobile, for example, by sharing metrics such as time spent and active engagements, I think the brands give you a year, right? And even as of today, about 50%, over 50% of my clients are repeat clients from these 5 years. They keep coming back to us again and again. Anytime they have something new that they want to launch, something new one they want to take to the market, any kind of repackaging, any repositioning they want to do, because they do realize, right, a critical mass is on mobile now. So they can't take that static medium, or even if it's just a video only, that's just not enough. Right? There's a large percentage of the population that's willing to engage, willing to give years to brand on the phone, and they're taking advantage of that through companies such as us and others.
Got it. So, Vishal, as somebody who's packaging really innovative solutions for brands, right? How do you see now? A lot of these solutions are sort of delivered through a publisher's platform, right? Through the mobile apps or websites and so on and so forth, right? And I also know for the fact that a lot of publishers have brand marketing or brand solutions team, right? How does that integration work for you guys, right? How have publishers sort of responded to adopting these newer innovative formats, right? From a business like yours?
Again, we did something very unique on the publisher side when we started off. What we realized is, if all these innovations that we're able to deliver, if we create that within standard banner ads, we'd be competing with the heavyweights, the big two, and of course several others. And that's not really a route that we want to take. Again, mCanvas was a startup within itself. We didn't have large budgets. We were not able to make large commitments to publishers. So we said, hey, can we do something innovative as far as publishers are concerned? So our team, what they said is, hey, let's solve some problems that advertisers are facing, users are facing, while at the same time doing something different in the publisher space. So again, part of it is going to relate to the question, but part of it I'm going to add here to build context around it,
Sure,
which is when we
please.
started off mCanvas, we realized that the mobile marketing space has four key problems that are not very well being addressed today. Right. So one of the problems is banner blindness. At that time, it was about 86%. Right, 86% of people are banner blind. Then about 60% of all ad clicks on mobile are accidental. And even if you keep these two aside, viewability, right? Whatever is viewable, right? It's under 27% on average. And these are some
Right.
industry numbers, not part of the research that we've done.
So, but again, right, Vishal,
Mhm,
if you just sort of fast forward to, from
mhm,
16 to 20,
mhm.
right, these numbers haven't changed much
Right,
because adoption has just only gone up, right?
right.
I am blind to banners on
Mhm.
mobile. I end up, instead of trying to close that banner on the mobile with my fat fingers, I end up clicking on them accidentally, and it's chaos, right? I end up like remember like what some 20 tabs at times
Right,
just trying to figure out how do I close that damn thing. Yeah,
right,
I think it's still a very legit problem as we speak
right.
right now. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what we realized is this, that we can't fix those problems if we continue to live in the standard banner ad space. So we said, why don't we create our own ad formats?
Mm-hmm.
Could these possibly address the problems we created, I mentioned? And then we created our first format back in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And through a combination of design, a unique business model, and the sensor integration, we were able to solve these problems. Now I'm going to relate this back to the original question you asked, which is when you went to publishers, we said, hey, we don't want your standard banner inventory. Why don't I create new real estate for ad on your page, which is start putting my ad tag on your website. And what I'll do is I'll make sure that I'll create a new spot for my ad dynamically in real time only when I have demand or fill available for that page view for that user at that moment in time, right? Which is everything real time.
Correct.
So we started off with our first ad format called as a sticker ad unit, where again, as soon as a user reaches my publisher website, the page loads, I check on the backend. If I have demand and fill available, I create new space in on my publisher's page in real time, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what I did was I solved two problems, which is on the publisher side, I created new real estate, new advertising, which means
Always.
I gave them the benefit of earning or an opportunity to earn incremental revenue,
Yes. Always
right?
important. Yeah.
Right. And if I was able to show you my ad, which unfortunately I cannot on the webinar, you would see how we've been able to solve the other problems of banner blindness, accidental clicks, and viewability. So
Mm-hmm.
a combination of all these helped me bring in new revenues to the publisher,
Got it.
incremental revenue to the publisher, and help me scale that side of the business.
Got it. Now I'll just sort of double click on that answer and
Mm-hmm.
go one level more deep, right?
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Sure.
so you have been playing with these innovative ad formats,
Mm-hmm.
right? I remember
Mm-hmm.
I had seen your campaign on in.com long time back. It was
Mm-hmm.
really fancy, was really cool, right? I mean, I think
Okay.
the one innovation for the one emotion which you have been able to trigger,
Mm-hmm.
right, on mobile advertising, that it's cool. Mobile advertising has been anything but cool, right, for
Right.
the last 1 decade, right?
Right.
And then now thanks to videos we have autoplay video ads,
Right.
right? But you have been playing with these really cool innovative formats, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these formats would change shape and size depending upon the client, upon the campaign they're trying to run, and so on and so forth, right? uh,
Right.
AdTech, for the longest time, at least on the performance side of the business, has
Mm-hmm.
been a game of scale,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the first question, that sort of comes to the mind, that okay, this is working, this is fantastic. How do we scale this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Uh,
Right.
so that's my first question. How do you see this scaling up? Right? Do you think these newer formats? Do you think these will become a new standard of advertising on mobile at some point in time, or do you not want that to happen at all in the first place? in a school of thought that we want to keep this niche tight, premium, and only for select brands, or do you want to take this like really mainstream?
I think I'd prefer it becoming mainstream
Mm-hmm.
because the objective is not just to be unique, but if this is adopted on a large scale medium, I think we're all going to solve other problems, which is most users hate banner ads today. Right? If like us, many other
I'll just pause you there. Let's just
yeah,
have two seconds of silence for the death of banner ads, right? Because it's not even funny, right? When I a lot of times I have taken spoken at conferences, seminars,
mhm,
and the first question we ask is, when was the last time you clicked a banner ad? And people have zero recall.
right.
People have absolutely zero recall. It is such a big disappointment
Mhm.
that brands are spending millions. Marketeers and programmatic ad experts are spending hours and hours of their time, right, only to trigger this kind of reaction, which is,
Right.
I have no idea. I
Mhm.
mean, it is worse than, I clicked on this 2 years back. It's having no idea is just really painful to listen to as a marketer. Yes, sorry,
Absolutely,
please go back.
absolutely,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. Well said. That is actually the one of the things when I present to my brand partners and agencies, that's actually one of my first slides that most people hate banner ads, right? And that gets their ears perking and they want to listen. Yes, can you do something about it? And when they see me answer that, they're of course happy. Anyways, coming back.
yeah.
So I'd prefer actually a larger scale adoption by publishers, other ad tech companies. I would love for them to use some of the ad formats that we have, take inspiration from us, and of course, vice versa. If they have something new, we would love to take inspiration from them. Overall, I think if we all work towards improving the ecosystem, and while it's a far-fetched thought, but if all of us put our heads together, few people are going to, or rather, we can reduce the number of people installing ad blockers, right? Why are they installing ad blockers? Because they hate ads. But if we made ads less intrusive, if we let people opt out of ads, and this is something, by the way, we do at mCanvas, we have a built-in ad blocker. But if we do some of these things, if we make the ad non-intrusive, if we don't bombard a page with ads, I think overall people are going to be more receptive and may start appreciating some of these ads, right? If they are
Right.
made for mobile, right?
Yeah,
Again, if you're
yeah,
going to
yeah, yeah.
slap them from one medium to another, you're not going to be able to change the industry. So I prefer to scale. I would prefer more and more people adopt our ad format.
Right.
Again, specifically addressing the scale question, um, it's a tough ask because some of the work that we do is custom. Scaling is not easy, but there are tools that we've built and I see others building as well to increase the speed of building the ad creative, which is
Right.
if you can standardize some of these things, if you can build some of these features, if you can build tools that help you do cross browser, cross device optimization,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I don't think scale is going to be very hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that we're not there yet, but
Sure.
most of us are inching towards that. So scale as a problem can be resolved. I mean, today, just speaking of mCanvas, when we started in 2015, if I remember my numbers right, we were reaching about 5 million users a month. Again,
Sure.
that's not a very large number, but for 2015
Yeah.
on mobile, it was all right.
Sure.
Today we reach over 80 million users each month, right?
Pretty
And there
cool.
is a lot more potential for scale there.
Yeah. 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 Awesome. So, Vishal, so we've spoken about brand solutioning. We've spoken
Mhm,
about
mhm.
how these formats are becoming cool, and you sort of want to take them mainstream as well. I do have like a bunch of questions for you right here from the
Sure.
select people who we have the call right now. But I have one last thing which I want to pick your brain on. Right,
Sure.
uh, your uh, how does this work in the context of programmatic?
Super. Again, if you'll allow me to boast for 30 seconds, mCanvas is, again, in my opinion, mCanvas is India's first and only company that has been able to offer custom, non-standard IV ad formats programmatically. So everything that I described to you today, all the examples I shared, all the senses I spoke about,
Right.
all of that is available for advertisers to buy programmatically using their preferred choice of DSP.
Got it. Okay, so superb, right? If it's available programmatically, at least you have potentially infinite supply available at some at some level, right? My chat. In fact, here is a follow-on question to that. Uh, a lot. I'm sure you've spent a lot of time educating
Mhm.
brand marketeers, brand advertisers about, hey, let's just for once look to the next slide beyond the banner ads, right? And that's been a tough journey, which I've spoken about, right? That how selling was slightly difficult in the first year, and how you've been able to retain so many of your clients over the last 5 years, right? Uh, when do you think, or what do you think is stopping marketeers or stopping brands to go beyond the usual rote agency media plan approach, right? To sort of trying out really innovative, worthy stuff on mobile. What's that? Where are they stuck?
So I'm going to answer that in 1 second. I actually want to touch back on one previous thing that you mentioned.
Sure.
While this is programmatically available, it doesn't make it infinite supply. Because
Okay.
what we've done is, and again, specifically seeing our M canvases, we've created our own mini ecosystem because the ad formats are unique. Advertisers can only access our supply. I cannot make my ad formats available on third party supply through an exchange. So
Got it.
we've created our own ecosystem. It's a controlled ecosystem of publishers and advertisers. If I may call it a mini walled garden of sorts
Sure.
within the mCanvas world. So
Got it.
coming back to your question, I think the education definitely is required. Uh, the problem that we face and the reason most advertisers haven't adopted something like this is, in one simple phrase, resistance to change.
Mm-hmm.
They're not willing to, again, I'm not saying this is representative of all, but of course, a significant number of advertisers out there still resist change, which is they're
True.
used to doing the old age way of doing things, which is they do not want to give extra time and attention to something
Right.
that's new. Some of the things that I described to you
Mm-hmm.
require some bit of additional effort,
Of
which is
course.
it requires rethinking, it requires creating some new assets from a brand's perspective. It requires getting more approvals either at a national level or a global level. If you're a MNC, some of our ad creators reach their global headquarters around the world in UK and US. So getting those compliances, some brands hesitate that, hey, why do I really want to do this? So only when we have an opportunity to spend some time, educate them, help them see the value, those clients then jump on. So I think it's just, if you're able to get 10 minutes uh, with a brand and help them explain the offering and why this is the right thing to do, then it works. Right? If
Sure.
it's a cold pitch that, hey, do something innovative, I don't think brands are receptive to something like that.
Sure. Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. Perfect. So, all right. So we sort of touched upon a variety of
Mhm.
topics, right? In fact, a lot of this sort of sounds like Uber, right? Where Uber had launched back in the day. I remember they started off as a limousine service,
Mhm.
private chauffeur-driven
Mhm.
cars, on time, on demand, right?
Mhm.
And how from there sort of went to, okay, you know what? We'll just do an Uber X, which is commute for everyone, right? From
Right.
being your personal chauffeur, they went to commute for everyone, right? I sort of
Mhm.
love that position that you have taken. That
Mhm.
we wanted to solve the problem of mobile advertising, because how fundamentally it is broken, with the exception of Google and Facebook, of course, right?
Right.
Who have access to so many different
Mhm.
one, a wide range of users, and second, multiple apps to sort of track the user, nail the user down, and sort of show up a beautiful, nice creative and say, "Hi, let's get back to action." Right, let's just sort of
Mhm.
click on this ad, right? But yes, Vishal, this has been really amazing, because so many things that you learn. Uh, what I would sort of definitely do is at the end of the podcast episode and the YouTube recording, I'll put in a couple of case studies because I was going through them early today. I remember the sports bra concept. It was really cool, right?
Okay.
I think you also bagged an award there as well, right?
We did. Yes.
Yeah, no. So, but again, right, and I think the fact that no one is doing it, which is even better, right, and the fact that you're doing it so well, it just sort of yeah, it clearly stands out.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words.
Awesome, cool. So I don't think they have any questions, right? The one that they had, I sort of already asked you right now. So yes, so cool. With that, we won't hold you anymore, right? Thank you so much for joining us. Really, really fun, really pleasure, chatting with you and catching up with you after so many years.
Great. Thank you for having me, Vivek. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. All right.
Okay.